Next In.
Well, welcome to Next In. So this is our September 17th recording here. We have Jeffery Reid, who is the CPO, right? Chief Product Officer over at Node. So thank you for joining Shane and I, Jeffery, or Jeff. We'll go by Jeff. Thanks for coming on board here with us. So I like to start with fun stuff, get to know you better than just talking strictly product. So the like elementary school thing that everyone hates. What's a fun fact? One fun fact about Jeffery.
Well, I used to be an actor. I studied acting and theater and was a professional actor at a company in Colorado and in Seattle for quite a while, and then got interested in technology actually, and taught myself HTML and started down a completely different path. But so I used to be
that's a super typical path of product, right? You go into acting and then go into product, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So some might say you danced around becoming a CPO, you know?
Yep.
All right, so you started as an actor. All right. So in the world of no COVID, when this thing finally goes away and we get to travel and go abroad and do all the fun stuff we want to do, where would you want to go? Where's the first place you're going to go?
I'm going to Paris. Absolutely, yeah.
Paris. All right. I like it. I have been to France, just the south of France, never been to Paris, which I know most people would be like, wait, so you went to France, not Paris? Yes, I have not been to Paris. I would like to go. It is on the bucket list. And Shane, if I'm not mistaken, you were in Paris literally at the very start of the pandemic, like when the pictures of the airport, what is it, the Charles de Gaulle airport was like mobbed with people.
It was pretty crazy. So like when COVID hit, before everything got announced in the US, I was actually out in Noida, India. I was going to go see the Taj Mahal and all of that fun stuff. And our layover was in Paris. So I was supposed to stay in Paris for a couple of days with my better half. And once we got into Paris, everyone was going around being like, you know, it's kind of like an episode of Oprah, to be honest with you. It was kind of like, you got COVID, you got COVID, you got COVID. It was bad. It was so bad. Like everybody just kept coming up and saying, everyone on your flight is testing positive, but you're going home today. So we almost thought we were going to get stuck in India, and then we somehow got transferred over to Paris. Then we thought we were going to get stuck in Paris, and then they let us come back to the U.S. But it was scary. That was back end of February last year.
All right, so then
I'm jealous. We never made it out of the airport. We weren't allowed to.
Well, you're going to Paris, so I'm jealous of you going to Paris, Jeff. So here's my favorite question I ask every person. And so far, we are like 1 for 4 of movies Shane has even seen. And it is actually, there's even more pressure on you for this. Most people we just judge significantly. But now that you've described yourself as an actor, so now you're going to really be judged. What is your favorite movie?
Oh, Lawrence of Arabia.
Okay. See, and I'm sure Shane has no clue about, because
what is it even about? But I've seen Reign of Fire. It's a garbage movie with great dragons. It's awesome. But yeah, I have no idea what that movie is, and I have no idea what.
All right, so let's just say Lawrence of Arabia would likely fall in the top 10 movies of all time on just about any movie historian's list. Maybe not every person's favorite, but in terms of like greatest movies of all time, Lawrence of Arabia, you know, 10 Commandments,
Citizen Kane, The Godfather.
Yeah, right. Like these are the top 5, top 10 movies of all time.
Well, Jeff, what makes you like that movie so much? Why should I go watch it? I'm down to watch the movie.
It's beautifully photographed, directed by David Lean, stars Peter O'Toole. It's got an incredible cast, you know, the scope, the vision, the scale. It harkens back to a time when movies, they had a lot more gravity, I think, than they do today.
Oh, yeah. Today it's like, all right, so what sequel do we want to make, or what remake? You know, that's about all that's like the creative genius that's come. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the technology that's being applied where they're using, you know, Unreal Engine or, you know, different gaming platforms to build some awesome stuff. At the same time, like you said, the gravity of a movie back then was like, I mean, they didn't make 48 of them a day. So
Yeah.
when they made a movie, they made a movie. So I can appreciate that. And being an actor, that was a very good decision there.
So I kind of want to kind of go back to the whole being an actor thing, because like I do really want to figure out how that journey happened, because I would also argue that was one of the things that I was probably most excited to talk about on, like, how did you go from graduating from Pepperdine University, going to the Denver Center of Performing Arts, right? So how did that transition happen? Like, when did you like go, I'm going to figure out this technology thing, and then go down to Belltown Media? Like, how did that journey happen?
So I was fascinated by the arts. I loved performing. I moved to Seattle from Denver after working in the company there for a few years, and joined another company and was artistic director of a theater. And we were producing, oh God, I don't know, maybe 12 productions a year. I mean, it was sort of all consuming. And I think part of it was about reach. I felt like we were sort of talking to the same people, a bit of an echo chamber. And then part of it was just I've kind of got a geek's interest in technology and what can be done. And the internet was coming alive, and the scale and the scope, the ability to connect with a whole bunch of different people at scale was fascinating to me. And then just the ability to manipulate code and see the output and the effect of that in a screen, and feel like you were sort of in control of the shape of that thing that was happening on your computer, because suddenly everything was about this, this computer. It was all of that. And it just felt like, at least for me, it satisfied a lot of the needs that I had for a creative outlet. It satisfied sort of a need that I had for kind of geeking out with technology and where science was headed. So it was this weird sort of confluence. And I ended up, because of some connections, ended up working at Starbucks in the early days and helping them build their first web presence. And then building their first internal corporate communications tool, their intranet, by hand. And working with the creative people there to make sure that it was beautifully presented. And we were talking about earlier, before this started, about the idea that product and this label of the product manager and the product designer. I've seen this sort of track through all these different labels. Originally it was just a graphic designer that, could you actually do this thing for a website? And then it became a UI designer, UX designer, and an interaction designer. And then it was a media producer and a web producer. And then it became, project management, product management. This sort of confluence has happened, I think, maybe over the last 2 years. And now we're trying to figure out exactly what the scope is of this role. And I find it just a fascinating journey. I really enjoy it. It allows me to express a lot of the feelings that I get from being an actor, talking to customers and stuff. And it allows me to be creative with all the visual stuff that you see on the screen.
So 2 questions that are going to come from that.
Mm-hmm.
One, do you still act? Like, is that something you do? Like a lot of like I like sports. So, and I don't do this. I probably should get in like a men's basketball, like something that just, now granted, I'm never going to play in the NBA or I'm never going to play in the NFL, but this idea that I can continue to have that hobby. Do you still act in some company in Seattle or?
No, I don't. I've got friends that still dabble in in the arts, and I've got some friends that have made a career out of it. But no, I don't. What I do is I still dabble and play around with filmmaking. So I've got a lot of filmmaking equipment, and I'll go out on a weekend and get a couple of actor friends, and we'll shoot some footage, and we'll put little projects together. I find that is a lot of fun, and it satisfies all of the itches that I have in that space. Although since we started Node, it's been pretty all consuming. So I haven't had a chance to dust my camera off in the last year or so.
Yeah, well, Node is growing very quickly. We'll get to Node in a second. Second question that came from that, I thought that was interesting. A lot of the product people we've talked to have talked about this idea that it is newer, right? This concept of product management, specifically in technology, is a much newer concept. There were product people back at, Johnson and Johnson years ago, but this idea of technology product, do you see that something that universities are going to embrace or have to embrace and create? I haven't yet seen a discipline, a department. It's obviously, it's in many ways, it's the business department and the engineering department mirroring each other. And there are certain, I know when I went to school, there was something called technology and management, where they took 25 engineers, 25 business students, and they had this specific track they were on. Do you think you're going to see a lot more of that with colleges going, we're going to teach this product management, this marriage of engineering and business?
With the caveat of like not necessarily an MBA, right? Because I think a lot of people, when they think of product being, on the education track, it's you got an MBA.
Yeah, I suspect that we'll see that. What I struggle with is it simply just a relabeling of disciplines that have already existed? I don't know. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we started to see that. I see product managers come in kind of three different classes. I see folks coming out of the business that really just want to shape and drive capabilities that they present to users in order to solve problems. They don't necessarily understand the engineering behind it. I see people coming out of engineering that are just tired of writing code and dealing with the day-to-day, crap of dealing with the complexities of handling bugs and all the insanity there. And I see people coming out of it from the creative side, product designers, UI designers, people that really just want to shape the visuals, but want to have a little bit more control over the kinds of products that are being created. And I love hiring across all of those. I slot those people into different kinds of roles within the organization, but we all try to drive towards this, this metaphor. And we've heard a lot about the CEO of the product. And I've never taken that literally, but I think as a metaphor, I think it's a good inspiration. It's one of the things that I use when I talk to my product managers, which is you need to put yourself in the seat of somebody that is responsible for the outcomes of this feature set. And you need to deliver those outcomes. And you've got a whole bunch of different tools that you put at your disposal to deliver those outcomes. But frankly, I don't care about the nuts and bolts of how you get there. It's the outcomes that we need to agree on, and you need to be responsible for achieving those.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now tell us a little bit about Node.
Yeah.
So KNOWDE, Node.
Yeah.
So anyone who's watching, who's like really getting curious and they're going, gosh, this is cool. So I can go from acting to product, because that makes, that's what everyone does. But they're also going, Node, tell me a little bit about what you guys do as a company.
Yeah. So we're building a marketplace for the chemical industry. So, when you think about the chemical industry, it's one of these industries that's hidden in plain sight. Every single thing you see, touch, taste, or smell that is made by a human being is made possible by the chemical industry. All of the essential ingredients, that go into your amazing iPhone, or the computer, or the video technology that we're using, or the clothes that I'm wearing, the stuff that we put on our bodies, all of it is enabled by chemistry. And so what we're doing is we're taking digital technologies and digital capabilities and enhancing the ability for people that are looking to buy chemistries to make amazing end products, and people that sell those chemistries to collaborate and communicate online. So that's what Node is, and we have a lot of success. We're growing like crazy. It's a really amazing space because it's one of the last major industrial markets that hasn't actually been transformed yet by digital technology.
So would it be wrong to say like this is like Zillow but for chemicals?
Yeah, Airbnb for chemicals, Zillow for chemicals. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I can buy chemicals for like 3 days, trash them, and then give them back. No, just kidding. And so how did you find your way over to Node? What was it about Node that was like inspiring you? I know you've been there for almost 4 years. I don't know. Has that 4 years been like, were you one of the very, very early people at Node?
Yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of Node. So me
awesome.
and the others sat down years ago and were casting about for for interesting ideas to work on. And through a variety of different channels, we asked ourselves. We were all working in the chemical industry at the time. I was working as a product designer. I was designing a lot of different experiences around order management and customer relationships and basic storefront websites and a whole bunch of other collaboration tools. And we asked ourselves, what would happen if we organized the world of chemistry? Because what we discovered is that every major manufacturer's website, and we're talking about like Dow and DuPont and BASF, these are the world's largest manufacturers of chemistry. Every single one required the user to figure out their taxonomy, to figure out their product model. Different producers labeled different products in completely different ways. It was almost impossible to navigate looking for these essential chemistries. And so we said, what would happen if we organized all of this? And so we used a whole bunch of different, pretty straightforward techniques, and then a lot of knowledge from one of our co-founders who's a chemical engineer. And we created a unifying taxonomy that arranged and organized all of this disparate data and put it into one unified system that was searchable. So it was that was the germ of the concept, and then from that we're starting to build out. Ultimately, our vision and our mission is, how do you drive down the cycle time from somebody that is looking to innovate using chemistry in order to drive their product development cycle down from years to weeks and months.
Okay. So I'm really intrigued. We can even say this is a tangent, because Shane and I, we run something called Founders Live, right? So we run that here in Nashville, where we allow these startups to give pitches. And the point is to let anyone do it, right? This idea that you don't have to have a Stanford MBA or have raised X amount of money. Just come, and we want to create exposure for companies. We just hosted an event 2 nights ago. It was a blast. And we give 5 founders a 99-second pitch. It's a lot of fun. I mean, basically, it's a big party.
Wow.
And so, but most of the product people we've talked to, I don't think anyone has been a founder. They've all been VP of product, CPO, who was brought on as the business scaled. But you have a little bit different knowledge of Node than, Node differently than other people knew their product, because you were part of that initial phase. So give me an idea. Node starts, whenever, call it 4 years ago. When did that incubation in your brain begin? How long between then and when you really were like, we've got something big, from a founder's perspective, not a product perspective, just a founder's perspective?
Yeah, I would say that we were kicking around the ideas probably 7-8 years ago.
Oh,
wow. So almost 3-4 years.
It's been a brainchild for quite some time. This has been a brainchild for a while. You're like, is anybody doing this? Why isn't anybody doing this? You're kind of bashing your head against the wall of like, when is all of this going to get consolidated? When is it going to be easier to find these items? If I want liquids for, doing something with the vehicle, why is there not a singular platform for these manufacturers to be able to find this stuff? If I'm trying to create shampoo or soap or yada, 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 how do I do that? And where do I go? Because like right now, the first thing I think of is like an Alibaba. Like I'm like, I guess I go to an Alibaba and then it's just straight up. I just have to go to, that's the only thing that I can really think of. Like, are there other major competitors where there's a marketplace to try to find this stuff? Because even Alibaba, it's not really, it's just, that's more of like connecting you to some supplier in another country that can help facilitate that conversation, right? This is giving you direct access to search on top of other stuff.
Yeah, this is a full service marketplace, where search and discovery now is just it's the on-ramp. But what people come to Node for are all the engagement tools, the ability to collaborate online, the ability to do e-commerce, the ability to sort of manage your order expectations all the way through delivery. It's that entire ecosystem that we're building that I think it becomes much more interesting. But to answer your question about other companies out there, there are other companies out there looking at the problem in different ways. We obviously think we have a very unique and powerful approach to the marketplace that I think ultimately will lead us to some massive success.
And that's like what you're doing as the product leader, right? In the org, is to go, what product lines do we need to have to handle the challenge differently or better, right? To solve that problem and to make it easier, like you said, the ability for e-commerce, the ability to collaborate online and so on with both sides, vendor and buyer. And so what, as you're growing this, is how do you get the creative side of what your customers eventually need, right? To make sure that the product is delivering the best, mousetrap to solve the problem.
It's all the sort of the standard methods. We talk to customers every single day. Our product team talks to customers. Our customer success team obviously talks to customers. Our sales team talks to customers. We listen. Because so many of us in the org have experience in the chemical industry, we've heard these problems for years and years, and we've believed that we're solving them in a particular way that will unlock that value for those customers. So we do it through analytics. We're very data driven. We do it through direct customer interaction. We do it through surveys and webinars. We collect that information from all those different sources, and then of course it's our own good ideas, hopefully good ideas that drive that value and try to unlock it.
I think they're great ideas. So you have you interview a lot of product people, and again we have I say each week it's roughly 60 million people who listen, and most of them are product want to get into product. So again, if you're going to be talking to someone who's maybe they've gone down the engineering path, and like you said, they're kind of like, I'm this coding, I want to get into where I can be communicating with customers, or someone who we just strictly the design element, but want to get more into that product space and having a little bit more ownership or whatever it is. When you go through the interview process and you're interviewing a new product person, what would you say if you could come up with like the most important single component that you look for in someone, or components? Maybe there's a couple.
Yeah, I look for the fact that they've got a basic product operations, that they understand the process of going from vision through iteration and design and customer feedback, through build, through marketing and release, and then through learning and sort of continuous improvement. That they sort of have that in their DNA, and they've got proven experience of executing that. And then the other thing I look for are people that are outcome driven, a little bit more than process driven. So I think people that are process driven are great, and I certainly bring those in. But for the lead product manager position at Node, where you're really thinking about what is the end value you're trying to achieve for your customers and for the company, I need people that are really focused on that. They're here to achieve a goal and an objective, and they know that the process is simply a mechanism that they have to use and employ in order to achieve that goal and objective. And so I talk to them about past experiences and what ultimately they were trying to achieve at those experiences. So there's that, and then the folks that are coming out of the engineering track. What I love to see about engineers is when they talk about how they basically get tired of the mechanics because they don't feel like they have direct connection with the outcomes. And that to me, I think is a really great signal for somebody that wants to sort of lift out of that day to day and really focus on delivering value.
Well, I think that's awesome. That's a results focus, right? An outcome focus, which, as we look at, heck, Shane and I look at, I don't know, about 1 million resumes a day. And when you look at them, and it's like one of the things that we've even given advice to people is we see the resume and we're ready to bring it to, Jeff over at Node and go, hey, this is a great product person because we know the story. We've talked to them. We've screened them before we bring them to you. But then you read their resume and you're like, it's like you said, it's all process driven. There's nothing that describes the outcome your process created. Mm-hmm. I know the outcome because you told it to me, but if I'm sending this and Jeff looks at this for the first time, the first thing that runs through his mind or any one of our other clients is, what came from it? Like I appreciate the process, but ultimately the process, like you said, was the vehicle to reach the result, to reach the outcome. What was the outcome you delivered? So would you say, if you're going to talk to someone about, hey, just any sort of resume prep, it's make sure you describe the goal and the outcome that you had going into your process, maybe what came from it, how you exceeded that, et cetera, so that the person reading it can get the full picture of the story, not just the middle, but the actual conclusion to the story?
Yeah, that helps a lot, and I really appreciate it when people write that, in their LinkedIn profiles about each of their experiences. What did they achieve? What was the result of their work? And then the other thing I always love to see is what was their role in achieving that result?
Yeah, no, absolutely, right. So, and
I'm super obsessed with it's goals, achievements, accomplishments, and awards, right? So goals, achievements, accomplishments, and awards. It's like, how do you facilitate that, and then what does that ultimately mean? Yeah, I think it's a really big mistake that a lot of people forget to do that, right?
Yeah.
So, any advice? So you have become, and I know you're like, wow, that was a big question. But again, for anyone listening, if I'm listening to you speak, I'm like, wow, this guy what a amazing, cool career path, right? Guy gets to go to school to study the arts, something that's super just fun and it's his passion, and is able to use that and transfer that into this awesome career in technology, not just in product, but all the way to CPO of this massively, growing company, Node, which is doing some amazing stuff. And that's awesome. So any advice to the people listening that if you could give one or two pieces of advice, maybe a mentor gave to you in your path to getting to where you're at?
The advice I would give to somebody that wants to pursue product is to think like a founder. To me, coming at the product path, your ultimate goal should be to go and create your own company, and you should, experience a sense of ownership. You should experience a sense of control and the ability to shape the outcomes that you're trying to achieve. I think thinking like a founder and having that founder's mentality is absolutely the right one. I think that will drive you any direction that you want to go.
Can you imagine telling that to every person? Forget about just product. Every person in every organization and everything that they do, think like a founder. And if people did, think of the success they might achieve if they had that same mindset of it's their baby, it's what they really are passionate about. They wake up thinking about it. They go to sleep thinking about it. They're excited about it. How much more successful people would be in all of their career, whatever, even if they're an engineer. Imagine your product that you're coding for you're the founder of it. You're think of it like the founder CTO instead of the founder CPO. If you think of it in those terms, boy, if people started thinking about it from that perspective, how much more successful they would be in their careers, their path. I think that's just
and
an
they'd have
awesome
a lot more
piece
fun.
of advice. And they would.
Amen.
They absolutely would. They would have a lot more. Amen is right. Like they would just have way more fun in that process, and they wouldn't feel like they were just working for a product or for a person. They would actually believe it was theirs, and they would experience what that feels like. And then, like you said, they very often would go on and start their own businesses.
So question, like, how do you empower somebody to feel that way though, right? Because there is the concept of I want you to feel like a founder, and that's like an attitude that you should have. But how do you empower a community or empower, the people that work with you to feel like they could act like a founder, if you will, right?
Yeah, well, I think there's two sides to that. One, there's a myth that that founders can do anything that they want. Everyone has to manage other inputs. Everyone has to manage through a bunch of different opinions. I hear a lot. Well, if I was a founder, then I wouldn't have to convince you that my idea is the better idea. I think the fact is everybody is faced with that challenge every single day. It's a collaboration. It's a constant sort of battle, and it's a constant process. So what I would say is that you've got to think like a founder by feeling personally responsible for what you're trying to achieve. And I think I lost the thread of your first part of your question.
That was everything though. That was
Okay,
perfect.
great.
That was exactly how, like, to me, it's that you're right. A kid might say, well, yeah, but you're my dad. Well, yeah, but if you approached it from the mindset, right? Everyone has, I used to always tell people, everyone has a boss, right?
Everyone has a boss. Yeah.
Even the people who work for themselves, they have their own boss, and their boss is their client, right? Because if they don't make the sale, then they don't have a job. Right. So they don't get paid. So everyone has a boss. And if you understand that just because you have a boss, you should be responsible, like you said, to yourself and to your desires and your dreams and what you're trying to accomplish, or in your case, to your product, responsible for the product. Don't worry. You shouldn't be doing it just because, well, I have to ask, for Jeff's input. If you believe in it, I'm sure, Jeff, you have to ask your clients' input and stakeholders' input. Everyone's got stakeholders. Maybe we'll say it better than a boss. Everyone has stakeholders.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think the challenge, or the trick is with that, is to just make room for other people's ideas. And that's one of the things that I do as a manager, is to try to make sure that there is room for all the ideas that are out there. That they don't always come from the top. But when there are no ideas that are being provided, then the top sort of tends to step in and fill that void.
Well, you don't have a choice. All right, so we've taken a lot of your time, so I'm going to try to come to a conclusion here.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. So let me ask you. So this is your opportunity. Are you guys at Node? Are you hiring in product for yourself?
Yes, we're actively hiring in product right now. I just hired 2 new lead product managers and a number of associate product managers. I'm actively looking for my first product marketing manager. I'm looking for some growth folks as well. And I'm looking for senior product designers. I'm looking for a head of product design. We have a lot of open recs right now.
Well, and I was looking at it because y'all just raised, how much was it? Like
72 million.
Oh, just a little bit, huh?
Last month, something like that. $72 million last month, which is absolutely
congratulations.
Incredible. Oh, thanks.
That's not a small amount of money. That's well done. So I can see why you're hiring a lot of people. We actually just placed a product growth person. So those are, you have a lot of roles in the product org, which is awesome.
My favorite comment that you said a moment ago, though, is just like, if I was the founder, I wouldn't have to pitch you my idea, but like if you were the founder, you were going to have to go pitch somebody to give you $72 million, and you had something bigger and better that you had to do there, which is like, well, yeah, if you were the founder, you'd be doing that and then 10 times more, because you got to convince somebody that's not me.
Yeah.
Right.
So how do you want people who are, if they're listening or they see this or we post this and they go, holy cow, Jeff's amazing. I'd love to work with him. I'd love to be mentored by him. I want to be on the product team there. I got a lot of good product experience, whatever. How can they get a hold of you?
Node.com/careers. That would be step one.
knowde.com/careers.
And again, I guess I would love to know too, just as a last minute, is like, how can somebody stand out to you the most, right? So like if you had to give us kind of the keys to your kingdom on what would get you most excited about somebody that, wanted to apply for your team, what would be like that secret sauce thing that makes somebody really stand out?
So the thing that I actually have in my interview guide when I meet with people is how much research have they done on Node? And I'm always amazed when I have a candidate that shows up that doesn't know practically how to spell Node, doesn't understand what we do, or has very cursory understanding. The people that really impress me are the ones that understand what we're trying to do, understand our mission, and are excited about it because they get how powerful a force of change Node could be in the market.
Well, again, you are, in many ways, you are taking an industry that has been around for hundreds of years, right? Yeah. Forever. Chemistry has been around forever. And you are bringing it in many ways, like you said, digitizing it or bringing it into the tech space of today and creating a marketplace for it. So I would hope people who show up are passionate about what you're doing out there, what you're accomplishing. Like, I love when we are able to recruit for companies where it's pretty easy sell to explain this is what the company does, and it is transforming the space that they're in. Versus just, it's just another iteration of the same.
But it's common questions, right? Like, do you know who Expedia is? Do you know who Zillow is? Do you know yada yada yada? Like one day it's gonna be like, do you know Node? Node is on the path to be your Expedia. It is on the path to be your Zillow, and that's really exciting for that demographic and that industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, last question. This is it. I promise Shane won't ask a follow-up. We asked your favorite movie. So I think everyone has like an actor or actress that if they're in a movie, you will watch it regardless. So, and I will say, I just saw an article, and this is not my favorite actor of all time. You know, there's plenty of them. Val Kilmer, I would watch anything he's in. But Jake Gyllenhaal he's a fantastic actor of the younger ilk. And so I'm going to try to watch, I think it's called The Guilty on Netflix, because he's in it. So who is the actor that or actress, if they're in a movie, you're like, yep, I'm watching. I don't care if it's directed by Shane.
Oh, wow. I mean, there's so many, and they're all the sort of the usual suspects, you know, they're the Robert De Niro, the Brad Pitt, the Meryl Streep.
She was awesome in Cruella. She was It's a kids movie and adult movie kind of put together. I saw it. I wanted to watch it with my girls. It actually probably was even cooler for I have 5 kids. My older boys thought it was cool. I mean, it's just a cool movie.
Yeah, it is. It's a sweet
film. Check it out.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anyone, any hidden gem of a person that we need to go check out?
None that are coming to mind right now. No, I'm sorry about that. I wish I could, share with you some amazing. There's an amazing actor on a great Netflix show. Oh God, I'm not going to remember who the hell it is or what his name is.
Of course not. Which show?
Which show was it?
Oh, it's this great French.
Oh, he's going to the Google machine.
Yeah, I'm going. I'm logging into my Netflix account and seeing whether I can find it. Lupin. Yes, it's called Lupin. It's brilliant. It's a lot of fun, and Omar Sy is the actor, and
fantastic.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, fantastic.
All right, there you go. It took us a little Netflixing, a little Googling, but we found it. All right, Jeff Reid with Node. He's the CPO. If you are interested in the product that they got going on and you want to join the team, go to node.com/careers.
That's it.
And you can see that some of the different open roles that they have. Jeff, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. This was awesome and a ton of fun. I think you have an incredible path. I love the product path. It's unique, starts in acting and somehow ends up as a CPO of a booming company that just raised $72 million out of Seattle. So that's awesome. So thank you for joining both Shane and myself. For everyone else, hopefully you enjoyed this. Comment below any comments on his favorite movie, Lawrence of Arabia, favorite actor, maybe throw your favorite actor in there, and any other comments. So thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Next in.